Dear Tono, dear Tomi, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to Finland. It is a great pleasure to have an opportunity to host this kind of event. I'm really happy that SES has done such a good work, and I really have to repeat what Tono already said, that Tomi and your team, you have done an excellent job creating SES and allowing us to participate to most interesting seminars around Europe. So at least me personally, I have learned from many of these events, because this is a platform in which we can share our ideas without any time limit or pressure that we should decide on something, and we can also learn from the different cultures, how people in some countries sees the similar problem and compare their views to our own. So once more, thank you very much for whole team of SES for organizing this. I'm very proud that you chose Helsinki as a place to organize this event. And also, Tono, thank you very much for your encouraging and nice words. Actually, this building, the House of State, is a place in which we form coalition governments. We always have a coalition government, and usually it takes 4 days to form a coalition government and write a governmental program. Last time it took a month, because we had a little bit difficult political situation after last general elections, and the current coalition government, which is the broadest ever seen in this country, consists 6 parties. There are Left Alliance and our party. We are extreme ends of the coalition, and almost all the rest of the parties are between us. So it took a little bit longer time than we have got used to form a coalition. Of course, the difficult economic times gave us an extra pressure. But as Tomi said, in 2010 in Madrid, it was the first kick-off economic ideas forum, and as you said, that Icelandic ash cloud changed a little bit our plans, but I don't regret, because me and the governor of Finnish Bank, we decided in Madrid that once we start journey back home, the journey will be a good journey. And it really was. We were like in Interrail using train and car and ferry from Sweden to Helsinki, and it took really 3 days, but it was an experience. Dear colleagues, dear friends, today I want to speak to you about what is right in Europe and why I believe Europe will emerge from the economic crisis stronger than before. We still do have great challenges ahead of us, most urgently with youth unemployment and financing of SMEs in order to get new jobs. But to change our economies for the better, we must not only make that change happen, we also must believe in it. I say this because economy is also a matter of expectation and confidence. We cannot talk black into white. But as political leaders, we can build public confidence in the economy by highlighting what has worked and what more will be done. If we Europeans don't believe in ourselves, who will? Dear friends, I think it is time Europe regained its self-confidence, because we really need it. Let's look at first what we have already done, what we have already achieved during the crisis. First, we have stabilized our currency. We have not let our common currency euro to fall apart. It has not been a very easy task every day, but we have succeeded to defend our own currency. The European Central Bank has played a crucial role in this battle. And I have to say that I'm really impressed how well the European Central Bank and the monetary system has functioned during the crisis. I used to be Minister of Finance, and many times in the Eurogroup and in the ECOFIN Council meetings, we were saying that let's not lose a good crisis. Meaning that the crisis, even though it's a bad thing as such, sometimes can be a good time to do reforms which are too difficult to do, politically too difficult to do in good times. And this has really happened in Europe. We have not lost a good crisis in that sense. For instance, we have strengthened our fiscal rule base. The euro area and the EU as a whole is better regulated area when it comes to fiscal rules. And we have already started to look our macroeconomic balances, because the reason of the crisis was not only a financial crisis or not only too high debt level of the countries, but also one of the major reasons for the crisis was that our economies were unbalanced. And now we have decided to have a better rule base to surveil our macroeconomic strength. We have also improved our regulation in financial market in order to limit reckless lending policy and behavior in financial market, because financial market was part of the reason why we are in crisis. On our table right at the moment, there's one of the biggest issues is the creation of banking union. By creating banking union, we tried and we want to separate sovereign risks or sovereign from the risks what the banks are creating or taking. So this is a major change what we are doing here in Europe. We have also, in the middle of crisis, established a crisis management funds which have been used for the needs of some of our member countries. We have realized that we have to take care of our young generation. We have already decided to spend some of our MFF money, multi-annual budget, to tackle the youth unemployment. This is one of the major outcome or what we learned in the beginning and in the middle of 90s when this country, Finland, was in crisis, that we cannot afford to lose any single soul, especially young people, only because of economic crisis. So that is the reason why we have established a youth guarantee here in Finland, and it seems to function pretty well also in the crisis time this time. And this is exactly the issue which we have wanted to spread to all over the Europe. Because young people, if you lose too many young people, it will have, first of all, a personal strategy for those people, but also it will weaken Europe as a continent of economic growth. Many reforms, what has been done in our member states, have been extremely painful. And we have to understand this. We cannot afford for a division between the member states in which some of us would find or would think that some member countries are not responsible enough and we don't need to take care of them. Instead, we have to understand the situation, social situation and economic situation of our member states. And we have to understand how difficult those reforms and cuttings and tax raises really are for ordinary citizens. But I'm very happy that those reforms, what has been done in the country which have been in the most vulnerable positions, have started to bear fruit. For example, Portugal, Spain and in Ireland, export is going up. Also in those countries, external balance has been improving very remarkably. They have improved their competitiveness, and this will bring new jobs and economic growth to those countries. In Greece, the talks is now of recovery instead of Brexit. So I don't want to say that we have seen the worst, because only history will show whether this was true or not. And I don't want to say that people in some of our member states don't need to suffer anymore from this day on. But I just want to say that those reforms, very decisive steps, what has been done in many of our member countries, have started to bear fruit, and they have been very good, not for Brussels, but for the countries themselves. Looking ahead, it is essential that Europe is strong enough to meet global competition. It is not enough that we look our continent as a continent which is in vacuum pack, because all of our companies are always in a global competition. If not in the Chinese market, the Chinese companies have come to European market. So we have to take care of our competitiveness. And the competitiveness is the best way to stimulate the economy even during the economic crisis. Because competitiveness means many things. For instance, it means that investors start trusting on our countries. They see that this country is moving to the right direction. I can believe that my investment to this particular country will bear fruit and it will be profitable in the future. So competitiveness is a key word in Europe in order to stimulate the economy right now, but also in order to make our continent economically stronger than it used to be. We also must protect our continent from protectionism, because in crisis time it is too easy to start launching non-tariff barriers in order to secure our own market and our own companies. But we know from our own experiences that this is not sustainable. Actually, on the contrary, why the European Union has been so successful creating prosperity and wealth and jobs in Europe, it is because we have taken away trade barriers. The single market is kind of the heart of the European integration. Why to start barriers when we are in the difficult situation, where we need more widened and more open market? This is the message what we want to say to our global partners also. And that's why I'm very happy that we have managed to start negotiating with the United States and Japan of free trade agreement. It will take some time, but anyway, the direction is very good. We must also see opportunities in other global challenges, like climate change. In Finland, the clean tech is the fastest growing industrial area at the moment. And if I should say, or if I should choose one area in which we can see most of the investments or where we can expect the most of the new jobs coming from, it would be clean tech. Because we want to make business out of climate change. Because the best way to protect environment is to find solutions which go hand in hand with private sector and with market economy. When I was a finance minister, we reformed our car taxation so that the tax of the car depends on the emission what the car is doing. So the less there are emissions, the smaller the tax is. The more there are emissions, the higher the tax is. So we combined market economy and people's choice to environment protection, and it seems to function. The average emission of the car has come down quite dramatically during this new tax system. So clean technology as such needs more financing, R&D resources, but also we have to be ready to find new ways to reform our societies in order to improve the competitiveness of green technologies and clean technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, unemployment clearly remains our most pressing challenge also in the future. One essential way to create new jobs is to boost our small and medium-sized enterprises. According to European Commission, SMEs provide 2/3 of Europe's private sector jobs. In many ways, SMEs are the backbone of our economy. But in many countries, European countries at the moment, smaller businesses struggle to get financing for viable investments because banks are cautious and banks are not ready to lend as much as the small and medium-sized enterprises would need money. We need to remove these bottlenecks as a matter of priority. I fully support the recent initiative by the ECB, the EIF group and the European Commission to assess different options for SME financing. It is, of course, the most important thing to do asset quality review to the banks in order to strengthen confidence of the banks, because we are so dependent on bank financing here in Europe. This is the most important thing. But we also must be ready to find new innovative ways to help financing bottleneck of small and medium-sized enterprises. And this is the thing what I'm thinking, for instance, together with my dear colleague Pedro Passos Coelho, the Prime Minister of Portugal. Dear friends, in difficult times like this, when too many Europeans are jobless and families have to worry about their future, it matters not only what we politicians do, but also how we do it. This is particularly important as we are approaching an important European election. The debate over European Union and economic policies is bound to become more heated in the coming months. We need a profound debate about Europe's future, and we should not allow only dogmatic voices, extreme voices, to dominate this debate. European voters deserve better than that. They deserve an analytical, open, and constructive debate about future of Europe. It is quite amazing why we have let the extreme ideas to dominate the future of Europe debate. Why those who are saying that all the bad things are coming from the EU, or all the national weaknesses or problems are only because of our own currency or because of the European Union? Or then, on the other part of the axis, there are people who are saying that the only choice in order to keep Europe together is to create the United States of Europe immediately and now. Isn't there anything between? Where are we? Where are we moderate pro-Europeans who could look at this situation more pragmatic way, saying, yes, we need more Europe, and yes, we need more national responsibility. When we are in the middle of the crisis, when the European integration, the whole idea of European integration has been challenged from within, is the only answer an extreme answer? No. Life is not usually black and white. Life is more like full of shades of gray. So where are we, moderate pro-Europeans, who tell we need more European integration, for instance, in defense and security, we need more European integration in single market, for instance, digital single market, we need more Europe in energy market, we need banking union, we need better rule base in order to strengthen rule of law, because the EU is not only a free trade area, but it's also a union of values. And at the same time, we are saying that no one of us can outsource of our national responsibility of taking care of our own businesses and of doing our homework properly and of taking care of our public financing. It shouldn't be too challenging to us to take this floor, to take this empty place and show direction to our citizens. What do we really want from Europe? What are the issues to which we want to commit ourselves? Unfortunately, the crisis like this gives too many opportunities for decision makers to hide away, kind of thinking that this is not primarily my problem, and kind of looking from behind the corner that, okay, Europe is doing bad, hopefully it can recover, but because it is so unpopular thing in our own country, I don't want to touch it. But responsible political decision makers must take their responsibility of launching solutions, not only telling what is wrong. This is exactly what the populist parties are doing at the moment. They are only complaining, they are only telling what is wrong with Europe, but they are not telling the solutions. And EPP as a party as a responsible party, as a pro-European party, we have to tell moderately, clearly, and so that people understand what do we want from Europe. We want more Europe in some particular issue, we want more national responsibility. It shouldn't be too difficult to sell to the Europeans, because most of Europeans don't want to struggle. They want to see stronger Europe, and they want to see fair Europe. One of the issues, what we are lacking at the moment, is the sense of fairness. And this is one of the themes what I have tried to raise to the agenda, that we have to take care of the unity of EU. Leadership is about unite and go forward. Leadership is not about divide and go backward. So in time when people in South and people in North think that Europe has not been fair enough, we have to very carefully consider what unites us and what are the things what we want to push forward, and not to use extreme voices which usually divides us very, very easily. So the fair integration means, for instance, that we have to respect our common European values and rules at all times. The European Union is so much more than a free trade area. When it is a union of shared values, we have to build European Union on the basis of rule of law. In our community, we have replaced the use of force with the rule of law. We must defend those principles also when they are challenged from within. Second, we need strong European solidarity, but we also need strong national responsibility. Europeans should help each other when help is needed, but we must also do our homework because it is right and fair. And third, the European Union must function in a way our citizens can support and feel as their own. It is a question of legitimacy and accountability. The EU needs to work in a more transparent manner, and it should not produce unnecessary regulations, for instance. A couple of examples to mention. Dear friends, Europe has a great deal to be proud of. European integration has delivered peace, stability and well-being to European citizens on a scale never seen before in this continent's history. We have managed to combine free market economy with social and environmental responsibility. Our schools, healthcare system and other public services are next to none. Our economies are getting stronger after a very difficult period. The adjustment and reforms hurt now, but they will certainly bear fruit over time. We are already seeing that in Ireland and Portugal and elsewhere, in terms of the European debate on economy, as things have gone forward and the future looks much brighter. If you ask me whether the compass of European economy policy points left or right, I will say it points forward. There are challenges ahead of us. Nobody knows whether we have seen the worst already now, but at least we see that we are on the right track. So let's focus on what unites us and not what separates us, and let's believe in Europe and tell the world that the Europe is coming back, because it is. Thank you very much.